Philly, it's the Kenneth L. Johnson Show live on WPPM 106.5. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson. Excited to be with you today in my favorite city, the city of brotherly love, sisterly affection, Philly. Lock in with us, please. Hit us up. You know how we do it. We do it each and every Monday at 2 p.m. here on 106.5 FM Philly. All right, super excited today for a lot of different reasons today. One, I just love doing this work. I love chiming in, should I say, and just having conversations with you and some amazing people that some I know personally and some I'm just meeting here on the show. But this one today is somebody I know and admire. So when I was setting up this executive leadership series, I earmarked some people that I definitely wanted to have a conversation with for this time. And one of those people, her name is Chelsea Williams. And one of the reasons I want to have a conversation with her, and especially this conversation, you know, everyone says we have a leadership crisis, and I'm not convinced of that. I think we have a leadership development crisis. And Chelsea is the founder and CEO of an organization called Reimagine Talent. So I said, all right, well, that's what I'm trying to do. Let's reimagine talent. Chelsea, welcome to the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. What's good?
Kenneth, it's such a pleasure to see you again, reunited.
Reunited once again. I love it. You know, I keep my eye on you, and it's LinkedIn. We don't get to talk as much. We find time to talk maybe once or twice a year. I'm glad to have you on the show to have one of those conversations be a public conversation. But let our audience know a little bit about you and what you're up to.
Yes. Well, again, such a pleasure and so proud of all you've been doing to elevate talent across the board. I am the founder and CEO of Reimagine Talent. We're a national talent and workforce development firm founded in New York City, in Harlem, but now based in Raleigh and serving North America. We help build leaders, strengthen teams, and elevate work culture. So a lot of our work is helping organizations navigate through change, through their people, and really build the teams that are needed to drive organizations forward and make an impact in the community.
Man, I think it's such powerful work that you do. I'm not surprised. You know, I'm not going to go down your background, but very prestigious educational background that you have. Then you found your way to New York City. Put your feet down, start doing your thing, started a company, and then made your way. Is North Carolina home? Are you from there?
Yeah, Raleigh, North Carolina is home, and left for college. As you know, I went to Spelman College in Atlanta. So I relocated back in 2023 from New York.
Wow. Listen, and that was in that minute of time I had the opportunity to meet you, get to know you, and here we are today. I don't know how many years later, having a conversation on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. So Chelsea, you know, I wanted to bring you on just because I think this is in your wheelhouse, a conversation about talent pipelines. So let's just jump into it. You know, as I mentioned in the lead off, everyone says we have a leadership crisis. I'm not completely convinced of that. I think we have a leadership development crisis. But from your standpoint, you know, leadership isn't breaking down, development is. Tell me a little bit about this. What are your thoughts?
Oh my goodness. I would agree with you. I think that we have a leadership perception challenge. I think today there's so many labels that we have put on what it means to be a leader, who can lead, age, identity, background, experiences. And I think that because of how we have seen or perceived leadership to look, we have not thought about the importance of building leaders at every level, at every function, and really allowing people in organizations to understand that anytime that they are making an impact on people, process, practices, they are leading. It's not just leading people, it's leading initiatives, it's leading community and spaces. And so my biggest kind of viewpoint, and I'm seeing it in action today with our clients across North America, is how we view leadership and who is a leader. And organizations really understanding now that they've got to build leadership at three levels, Kenneth. Self-leadership, so that's everyone in organizations seeing themselves as a leader and understanding what it means, first and foremost, to lead yourself. And then through that development, understanding what it means to lead people, to lead teams, and then ultimately for those who aspire up through the ranks to lead organizations. And now more than ever, we need organizations to lead, understanding what people need, what communities and regions need. And so how we've been doing it isn't necessarily what we need in this moment.
Speaking of in this moment, as we do the work we do here at East Coast Executives, my search firm, when I'm talking to some of our clients and they're sending me out to do these searches, right, for talent, for leadership. And oftentimes, I have to say, listen, I don't know if you're running out of talent. In some cases, you're failing to identify, develop, and prepare the talent before it's needed. I've placed people in roles that are sitting there and they're ready, but then the company still wants to go outside and bring someone in that may not be as familiar with the culture.
That's right.
They need to ramp up. And so we lose some time in this process. Talk to me about what you're seeing and what you're sharing with your clients.
Oh my goodness, you have it absolutely right. I mean, it's been a old mindset that there are times that it's better to go external than to go internal. I mean, we are seeing folks really try to focus on the retention of their workforce, especially strong performers. And so we've seen more mobility. How do we get the people who are in our organizations in the right seat, being able to build new skills and capabilities? So we do see more mobility happening. But at the same time, there, especially for the more senior roles, and this, folks tend to say, we want someone else externally for many reasons. And so I think that there's a reckoning that's happening. I think that for one, and I know we'll talk about this a little bit more, just because of the time that we are navigating through from a generational standpoint, boomers preparing to retire, Xers and millennials in the middle, and a lot of shifts happening there, Gen Z coming in, there is more interest in how to provide opportunities internally and make sure that organizations are being thoughtful about succession and resilience of their workforce through development, coaching, cross-functional exposure, all those types of things. But we're not nearly where we need to be. I mean, there are some industries, and this, Kenneth, where if you look at their data of who is in seat, like some of the industries, I won't name them all, but there are some industries that as soon as that retirement wave comes, it really should be a red flag in this moment that we need to start right now.
Sure.
Elevating, ramping up the people who are going to step into these roles, because it really is a business risk at this stage for some industries. And so I think people are talking about it more, but I'm not seeing as much action as there could be.
I've worked with some utility companies, and that's been a conversation that they've been having for well over a decade now. And they've been actually asking people to stay on. And it's interesting because they weren't prepared. And I don't know how that happens, but it happened. So how do we adjust, right? Yep. So listen, what I've been seeing out here, just through work, right? People consistently promote their best individual contributor, right?
Yes.
But I've seen that the skills that make someone a top performer rarely prepare them to lead people, right? So with that being said, why do organizations keep making this mistake?
Yeah. A couple things. Number one, I'm a firm believer that we can be more open about the different pathways that are available to people, Kenneth. I don't think everyone should be a people leader. There are some folks who say, once you get to a certain title, my expectation is that you can lead, because to whom much is given, much is required, and we need you to step up and be a part of culture carrying. That is one train of thought. I'm a firm believer that there are some people who are better as individual contributors, Kenneth. It could even be that their role doesn't necessarily warrant them leading people. So I wish that we could normalize several pathways. One being, I'm an individual contributor. This makes sense for my role. There's a career path available for me, and I don't have to lead people. But for those who want to lead people and who see the benefit in leading people, they should get the resources to help support them through that. I mean, you and I both know this because we lead teams ourselves. One of the hardest things you'll do, you could be amazing in your role, and most of the time folks are, but leading people, coaching, mentoring, motivating, it is a lot of energy and a lot of time. And it's also something that you never really arrive at. consistently, the more that we are exposed, the more that we're coached, the more that we go through our own journey, we learn what it means to care for someone else's career progression and support them through feedback, etc. But I don't think that we are always making the investments in helping people develop as leaders. I mean, you and I know one of the first things that goes when there's an economic crisis, training and coaching, and some of these tangibles are the things that are kind of put off to the side as not as valuable as other parts of the business. And so I think we have to have a frame of mind, a frame shift that even if your people don't stay with you long, the input of their development and their ability to say that they grew at your organization, made a difference at your organization, the intangible is still important for organizations and industries, candidly, to get their people ready to make a difference and to perform on the job. But it's a mindset shift.
Definitely a mindset shift. It's all about like succession planning, and people are taking that almost like it's a once in a year exercise, right? But the pipeline should be built every day. So that's kind of where I sit with that. Oftentimes I get a call, someone resigns, right? So a resignation letter hits a leader's desk and they say, oh, we got to find somebody. Well, haven't you been planning for this? So that's always a concern. So when I look at what you're doing with Reimagine Talent and how you're positioning people to be successful, it just seems like you're probably pretty busy right now. Talk to me about your thoughts on that and what your organization may be doing to kind of support companies that fall into this, into this hole.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. I want to clarify though, I think there is a perception that when it comes to succession planning and people leaving an organization, that it is only because they're leaving because they have a new job or because they're retiring. Kenneth, we saw this over the past 5 years, particularly with the pandemic, which feels so ancient now, but it happened just years ago. There are people who are also leaving because of personal reasons. All the leaves are not necessarily to go somewhere else. People are saying, I've been in this for decades. I want to do something different. Life happens. Things happen with families. And so I also would want people to understand we are actually hearing now more than ever the person who's like, I need to take a personal leave. Or they're saying, you know what, I didn't know this was happening now, but I have to, I want to go. Like it's time for me to find something different to do. And so I feel as though we need to understand that it's almost like business continuity and resiliency of our workforce, that we need to be preparing for the unexpected. We need to be preparing for those shifts that can happen. Hopefully it's not as extreme as a pandemic, but we saw what that did. And do we have people in the right roles? And so I think for anyone thinking about succession planning right now, it's who is in your workforce? It's knowing the people who are in your workforce. What skills do they have? What capabilities do they have? What is needed for where your organization or function is going? And this is a whole activity that we would do, making sure that you have identified the core roles in your organization. Are they in the right seat? Working with managers and leaders to determine the strength of your teams and your organization, going through each and every person on the list and making sure that they are, again, prepared, but also in their right role. And it could be that you determine for a person that they're in the wrong seat. They're great. They're culture carriers. They've been at the organization a long time, but they need to do something different. That's all a part of the work, Kenneth. But after that, it's like for your leaders, when you have identified who those people are, it's one thing to identify, it's another thing to support. So literally having a plan for these people who we've said are leaders we want to nurture. Every one of them is different and should be supported differently. Some people might go do an exchange in another office or in another country to gain that global experience. Another person might need coaching. They're great at the job, but they need some coaching to help them. And you know more than ever than anyone, executive coaching makes the difference. It's not only for the person who's not performing, it's for the person who can perform more. So those are just some things that I think are really important to think about as it relates to succession planning and preparing.
I'm learning much more about the importance of coaching. We have some coaches that show up here on the Kenneth L. Johnson show pretty consistently. Executive coach Nicole Smith, and she comes on and she speaks about some of the coaching things that are happening out here and the need for it. So I think people need to tap into those networks and really grow within their career. You spoke about culture carriers, right? So, for me, managers are creating the culture more than the CEO, right?
Yes.
But as the strength of an organization is determined by the quality of like the frontline and mid-level leaders, are companies investing where culture is actually being built, Chelsea?
Good question. Good question. So I'm a firm believer, my company is a firm believer that everything does start from the top. And when we say top, we say from the CEO to the executive team, their vision, their direction, their representation of values. Like, I don't want to underestimate that that is critical for organizations because that's where people take note and that sets context. But right after that, there's been so many studies from Gartner and Deloitte, et cetera, that it is the manager or the leader on a day-to-day basis who sets people's experience, right? If that, you could have the best CEO who's the most inspiring, but if at the end of the day, the person who they're reporting into is not supporting, encouraging, providing direction, helping navigate through change well, that impacts people's engagement. And so we are actually seeing, and this is exciting, a couple of things to share. We're seeing certainly more focus on mid-level who will have this interesting role of like managing up and then managing team. It's tough. I just want to call that out when you find yourself in the middle if you are not supported. And so yes, there's more work there, but not nearly enough, Kenneth. We're seeing more conversations about frontline, first time leader, early talent, so many of those categories, and more organizations saying there's a perception for frontline that you shouldn't invest because they're going to leave. They may leave. Like, is it worth the investment? But we know now, especially more than ever, investing in that front line can be the game changer for your organization if done well. So we are seeing more work in that space. We're actually working on a guide for the Association of Talent Development on supporting first-time leaders, which is not often talked about. So we'll share that with you for the community, and anyone who's interested in getting the resource can start to understand what it means to start building leaders who first step into the role, so that they can be prepared for the weight of responsibility as they mature.
I love speaking to you about this stuff. And when you get into your wheelhouse and you start going, because you do it so well, I really appreciate and enjoy the way you present it. I have to ask a question, and it just hit me. How did you get into this? How did you step into this particular avenue for your career space?
Oh my goodness. So I was one of the few people, Kenneth, who knew I wanted to be in the human capital, human resources, whatever people want to call it, space from Spelman. So I was an econ major, but I did my final thesis on this space, right? So I knew this is what I wanted to do. Thank God I got an internship my sophomore year in financial services. That's what brought me to New York, to Wall Street. I was in a HR rotational program, the best. I would offer anyone who's interested in this space. For 18 months, I had 3 rotations in different parts of human resources, because you and I know this. There's recruiting, there's performance management, there's compensation, there's training and development. There's so many different facets of the people piece of business that gave me almost like a preview into what I might want to focus in on. So that was the perfect way for me to gain that exposure. Did that, ultimately became an HR generalist, or business partner as they called it, in banking and technology. But when I was doing that, my affinity was towards the development, the part that had to do with people once they got the job. How do we keep them engaged and supported? And that was just a natural affinity and passion that came. 2018, I'm called to do this fellowship that was in adult learning and leadership in the nonprofit space in New York City. Loved it, loved being a consultant, loved working across industries and sectors. And that eventually led to saying, I can do this full time, and encouragement from mentors who were like, why not try it? Try it as a business. If it doesn't work, you can go back. And that was 6 years ago. And I'm pushing along now with my team.
Yes, you are. I love it. All right, Chelsea, as we start to kind of come down the stretch here, let's talk about this. The next generation of leaders, right? They won't lead like the last generation. They can't, right? AI is changing expectations, and there's a multi-generational workforce. So with all of that being said, as we redefine leadership, what should organizations today really be doing to unlearn and prepare for tomorrow?
What can they do to unlearn and prepare for tomorrow? I'm just getting back from spending some time in Mexico, Juarez, Mexico, and in San Antonio with a client with my team. And we had the opportunity, they've been trying to figure out how to boost intergenerational communication and collaboration across their organization. So they're in separate regions, separate cultures, but also have a diverse workforce from interns all the way through experienced hire, long tenured, all the things. But they were realizing like change is happening and we have to make sure we're really getting the most out of the diversity of our workforce, literally. One of those elements was around age and diversity, age and generations, excuse me. And so we spent some time with them first doing an assessment of what's the current culture around this, and then determining some areas that we could really workshop through with them to identify some solutions. And so I think the unlearning is happening by having the conversation, number one, identifying that people have different experiences based off of their stage of life and age, right? Depending on when you came about, you and I can have that conversation of when we first entered work. It's different now. And so if we don't think things are different, we're missing it. So I think one of the things is like, how we came about is not the way this next generation is coming into work. We have to admit that, acknowledge that, and then try to find that common ground and the parts of our experience that can actually be beneficial, the differences in how we approach work and life that can be to the advantage of our companies. And so, one of the powerful things that came out of our time with our client was helping them and giving them the tools and the space to, on a day-to-day basis, communicate better, collaborate better, navigate through conflict and change better, but then also have them iterate and identify ways that they can boost their culture from a generational standpoint and be in the room of sharing suggestions in front of their executive teams that now, after the training and facilitation, they can go back and take action on. And so I think my point is just, we got to acknowledge the differences in work. We have to hold space for experienced folks to come in and help guide conversation and dialogue. And then we have to invest. We have to invest in the resources that teams and leaders need.
And that's why she's here. It's Chelsea C. Williams live on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia. It's the Executive Leadership Series where we discuss the things that are important to leaders and executives. And Chelsea is doing exactly that. Hey, Chelsea, I want to talk to you about something. I've been asking this question as of late, right? When you started, let's just start from the business, from your business, Reimagine Talent. What was the door that you didn't know existed? Was there anything that surprised you as you started to grow your business and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know it worked like this?
Oh, that's good. Okay, real quick, because I know it's important. They're connected. Number one is, and we talk about this a lot, the power of relationship. Every single thing that has happened for my business has been through people. And I think it's so underestimated, Kenneth, like how we treat people, how we show up, how we deliver on our work, our trust, how we build trust. Because at the end of the day, that has been the theme of like people speaking for us when we're not in the room. So I think that's a really big one. And then second thing is the domino effect. And you know this in business too, like there is this putting in that work up front and doing well up front and building and connecting with people up front. If you do it well, there's this domino effect that happens where your name carries through years that can really help you sustain your business. So I would offer those two things.
Yeah, you know what? I can appreciate that for a lot of different reasons. Prior to the show, I was having a conversation and I was basically sharing with someone. I can't believe I'm sharing this on air. I was sharing that I'm like, I don't know if I like people that much. Right. And they're like, what are you talking about? They're like, everything you do involves you liking and loving people and that interaction. And I'm like, it just sometimes, I just want to go into a space into my own head and just figure things out without some of the outside noise. And I think I may have referenced that wrong when I stated that I didn't like people, because clearly I do. I'm on the show talking 100%. With Chelsea C. Williams right now, right? And everything I do is about people, whether it's TEDx Harlem, whether it's East Coast executives, but really it's amplifying the voices of people and providing opportunities for people. And I look around, we're both on LinkedIn and we're really active. And I look around and I say, who's doing that work? In fact, I think I'm going to create a post maybe this week about people that I see that are doing the work and doing such an amazing job. And you're definitely going to be included on that list. You're doing some amazing things out here, Chelsea. Please, we got about 4 or 5 minutes. You know, I want you to share with our audience, I want them to gain a clear understanding of the work you're doing, because, you know, we have business leaders on here that need your services. Talk to us about what it is that Reimagine Talent is doing, and then let our audience know how they can stay super connected to you and your work.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I'm rooting for you in all the things as well. Right now, we're focused on 3 key areas. Number 1 is what we'll call manager and leader development. If you're in an organization and you're looking to boost your management and leadership of your workforce, we are the people. We are helping organizations to coach, train, and really advise those who oversee and lead people. That's number 1. Number 2 is team effectiveness. Kenneth, I didn't know this was going to become such a thing, but in this category of like generational change, workforce change, teams are asking us to come in for offsites, for leadership convenings to really help their team identify common norms, ways of working, using assessments to help unlock styles that help them work better. So I'll call that team effectiveness work. And then number 3 is what I'll call learning and development broadly. We really focus on your interpersonal power, core skills, durable skills, whatever you want to call it, but really helping to build across levels the skills that are necessary to thrive in this current environment. And so that's exciting. I think the last thing I'll say under learning and development is we wanted to be an organization that didn't forget about this next generation. So it might just be a personal thing for me, but we do have some work that we specifically do with Gen Z and early talent, getting them prepared for work. And that matters a lot to us as well. So we truly are an intergenerational organization meeting people where they are.
Let's talk real quick about some of this early talent out here. You know, they get a bad rap. People view them as not being focused and maybe not even wanting to work. What are you seeing? I don't think you're seeing that.
I mean, Kenneth, that could be its own show. I mean, the PR, it might be.
We might do this. Yeah.
The PR for this early talent segment is not good right now. I mean, most of the time we've done dozens of keynotes and trainings across the country on the next generation workforce. And when I ask people in one word, how would you describe them? I have to course correct many times the word cloud that comes up because it's not positive. So I do want to just say that. However, when my team spends time in organizations, working with counties and states on helping build workforce initiatives, they're resilient, they're innovative, they're great with technology. They often say, we want employers to know that we want to work, we want to contribute. Purpose is a driving factor in this next generation. So where our generation, it might have been about compensation and like name, prestige of organization. This generation, they don't care. They want to do work that makes a difference and an impact. And so there's this reckoning, Kenneth, that's happening with what they want and desire and what organizations have historically offered.
I love it. All right, listen, we're getting ready to close out. How does my audience stay connected to the work of Chelsea C. Williams and Reimagine Talent?
Amazing. 2 key ways to stay and stay connected with us. Number 1, you can go to our website, reimaginetalentco.com. Everything is there about our services, our solutions, and how we partner with organizations. As Kenneth mentioned, I am on LinkedIn. That is my preferred professional social platform. So please connect with me there at Chelsea C. Williams. And if you have any questions or any way that I can be supportive, just send me a DM and we'll schedule some time.
I love it. Thank you so very much for offering that to our audience. It's the Kenneth L. Johnson Show live, WPPM 106.5 Philly, streaming here on LinkedIn. For all the people that tapped in on LinkedIn, I'm sorry. I know you guys had some questions and I didn't get to them, but I'm a little selfish with Chelsea. I like to talk to her. Right? This is a friend of mine. I want to talk and chop it up with her. Chelsea, look, I appreciate you. Let's stay super connected. Maybe we'll do something together. I think that's on the agenda. We really need to do that. And but I really appreciate you coming through the Executive Leadership Series on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. Thank you so very much.
You too. Keep it up, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you. To all my people out here in Philly, this is what we do. I told you we do it each and every Monday at 2 p.m. live on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia. I don't even know who the guest is next week. I got to figure it out. But I will be in Nashville at the National Urban League Conference doing what I do. We're going to have 3 Digital Career Success Series shows there. If you happen to be in Nashville, lock in with me. I'll be walking around the convention center, talking my talk. It's the Kenneth L. Johnson Show live, WPPM 106.5. Thank you.